You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor. Subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments below. And be sure to smash that like button. Since last we talked to Shea, Tigers have picked up 3 commitments. What a run for Brian Kelly and the recruiting staff. Shea's with us now. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I was thinking, did we talk Tristan Keys last Tuesday? But I guess it would have happened afterwards. So at least I do remember we talked about this could be one of the better receiver classes they put together in a while. I saw you, I've kind of already touched on that on your side. But a week later, it's come to fruition. They've gotten right to 4 commits, which was 100% kind of the biggest storyline of the week.
Tristan Keys, Jabari Mack, a couple of receivers that popped. Tristan Keys, of course, Hattiesburg High, which that's where we kind of went with it, Shea. Of course, you being a Hattiesburg alum.
Notice I don't scream anything.
Hey, you do you, I do me. All right,
my 5-star, and that's it.
You do you, I do me. Happens. You know, every 10 years you pop a commit from Hattiesburg High, and all of a sudden you get to act like you're something. Come on, bro. You want to talk about like national championship baseball teams? Come on, let's go. What you want to do, huh? What you want to do?
Every never do they sign someone from Hattiesburg. So this would be fun for us.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about, first of all, Tristan Keys, Jabari Mack. All right, they both commit a couple of days apart. For those that aren't familiar, give us the context on Keys and Mack and what this means for LSU's receiver commit class here in 2026.
Yes, so Keys is the number 1 player in the country, number 3 overall on the On3 industry rankings, number 1 receiver, I should say, number 3 overall, goes to Hattiesburg High in South Mississippi. So I know a lot of people that follow recruiting, even if just listening here on the show or kind of picking up things here and there. Didn't they have the number 1 receiver committed last year? And then he flips on him the NIL era. Is this kid going to stick? And DeCorian Moore was coming out of Duncanville when a lot of people thought he would go to Texas. He ends up going to Oregon. Oregon has ties to that Duncanville staff with Samples and others. So it was a 7-hour, trip from Dallas to Baton Rouge. You're driving. I mean, there were a lot of factors that people thought Texas would win out, let alone kind of land a big deal at Oregon and then really prioritize getting him. LSU's been on Keys since he was probably in middle school. And this, you've got to remember, it's 2.5-hour drive. That's closer than Oxford, State, Tuscaloosa, any other school that would be recruiting him that, he would be considering. Tennessee, Knoxville was in that mix. So not far from family, which I think is important to him. And he was set up to take all of his official visits this summer and didn't. He just went ahead and shut it down. And look, Donovan Tate, who's on LSU staff now as director of recruiting, and it has been for a number of years now, went to Hattiesburg High and obviously has connections to Tony Vance and that staff and has known about Keys for a while. So LSU's had a kind of a long history here for a kid who's about to be a senior in high school of recruiting him. And the same is said about Jabari Mack. And look, Texas kind of got talked up in Austin. Hey, we think this is a kid we can steal out of Louisiana. But the reality always hits here. Destrehan is very good to LSU. And guys that have come out of there and gotten offered by LSU, they just signed 2 guys this past cycle. So they land Jabari Mack. And as we talked about kind of at the start here, Matt, that's the number 1 receiver on On3. That's the number 8 receiver on On3 and Mack. And then we've got both other 2 commits, Kenny Darby up at Airline, and then Ja'Kai Anderson over at McDonough 35 in New Orleans as top 250 guys. I think they're both firmly in the top 25 receivers. Yes, 23 and 25. And obviously rankings will change, but those guys were first-team All-State, putting up Darby more yards than anyone in Louisiana. Ja'Kai had a phenomenal year, nearly 1,000 yards. So we are talking about 4 guys who are legitimately going to either hold steady or keep moving up in the rankings. And that'll be maybe, arguably right now, certainly the best receiver class that any college football team will sign.
What about as it compares to the 2021 LSU receiver class? Now, we have the benefit of hindsight to know what happened with Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors and Jack Besh. But what about how it compares when these guys are recruits, right? Like if you were to go to this point in that 2021 class, how would this crop compare to 21?
Yeah, I could give you the exact facts, but I would, the exact numbers. I'm looking at it on through right now to tell you. But I will say, as I'm searching this, Matt, that, not Dante Jackson, Deion
Smith
had signed with LSU. He was maybe the highest ranked out of all those guys.
Yeah.
And ends up transferring, going JUCO, and I think he's at Ole Miss now. I know he hasn't obviously made that big of a splash, but it was Neighbors, it was Besh, it was Chris Hilton, it was, as you said, Brian Thomas, who were all ranked kind of at different levels of in the top 300. Brian Thomas was kind of a 5-star, I believe, in that class. So, yeah, I'm looking here. Brian Thomas was 19 overall. Malik Neighbors right behind him at 20. So those are two top 20 receivers. Chris Hilton was 15 that cycle. Deion Smith was 8. And as I scroll down, Jack Besh is somewhere in that top 30 range. So I guess out of the gates right now, a little bit higher. I mean, they have the number 1 and number 8 and 2 top 25 guys. But don't be shocked if those 2 on the back end end up sneaking up and having big careers. That's just how these Louisiana guys are, just kind of as I mentioned there, with Malik and Brian Thomas, who are part of the NFL this year as rookies. Yeah. And they're ranked on the back end of that group.
Shea, Dylan Purder's the other guy that popped last week, the cornerback out of Alabama. This one kind of snuck up pretty quickly, right? He didn't get his offer until February. Now he's committed. Can you kind of walk us through this one?
Yeah, I did. This is what the fans make me do. I have to do my mock prediction pieces. And nothing's easier than predicting what 17-year-olds are going to do in the NIL era with 10 months until signing day and fill out 25 spots. But I had at safety, Aiden Hall, who's out of Endicott. They already have him committed, so that one was easy. I have Blaine Bradford, who Catholic High, 5-star, top 2 safety in the country, right here in Baton Rouge. And the third guy I had in there was Purder. And the offer came a month ago, but if those who know anything about Aiden Hall and Blaine Bradford, and you've obviously seen Blaine play a ton, those guys, I've said it on your show plenty, they could walk onto a college team or campus right now and you'd be like, those are juniors in college probably. They are physical. They're huge. They play that brand of football. I mean, these are Jamal Adams, Eric Reed, Delpit bigger type kids. And I think Purder, they needed that coverage safety. So we have him ranked as a top 20 corner, but he is going to play safety in college. And I think LSU's hoping, hey, if we can add Blaine Bradford, that gives us 2 just thumpers there at safety and top 5 safeties in the country. Let's go get a kind of a guy who's more of a coverage guy. And that's what Dylan Purder was, and offered him out of Alabama and got him committed, like you said, within a month. Visited and went ahead and popped and shut it down.
Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tigers with us. You'll get him at Shea Dixon on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. So, Shea, the obvious question is, okay, well, they got 3 last week. Who's next? Let's get greedy.
Why not? Unfortunately, there's no greedies out like Williams or anything out there could have played that well that I know of. I think that we could probably keep an eye on some out-of-state guys maybe at this point. Like Blaine Bradford and Lamar Brown are 2 in-state, both here in Baton Rouge, both 5-stars that we could talk all day about, and they're left uncommitted at the top of the board. I still think they'll take a little bit to kind of look around before committing to that hometown school, kind of given how much time they've spent in Baton Rouge, which I presume for both of them really is their whole lives. So I'll go out of state, and a guy I'm circling is Darius Gray. He's an O-lineman. He's the number 2 interior O-lineman in the country. He was here this past weekend as LSU added all those commits, and now the number 1 recruiting class in the country. But he's been a big priority for Brad Davis and company, and I think he's like the number 30-something overall prospect, regardless of position. So we're talking about another top 50 recruit that, if you add, only strengthens that number 1 class. And again, Brad Davis has been, and his staff, that kind of whole group, whether in personnel or the coaches, have been really good with recruiting O-linemen in recent years, even if it's not Louisiana or even a border state. So I'll kind of lean towards a guy like Darius Gray. The O-linemen seem to not care as much about the fanfare of official visits and photos, and they kind of just shut it down at any point. So I'll lean towards the trenches. Actually, quickly, Dom McKinley, who could be starting for LSU this year, should be probably on the D-line. He does have a younger brother who's a 4-star D-lineman in this class who's getting to know Kyle Williams, the new D-line coach right now. So I'll throw Darius McKinley in there for an in-state name as well.
Can you give us maybe just a thumbnail on Darius? I mean, everybody knows Dom. And Shea, I think the the thing that I always hesitate when there was like the super highly regarded older brother and then the younger brother comes, like this was the Leonard Fournette thing. It's like, hey, is he like as good as Leonard? Like, no one will ever be what Leonard was at that position. How it's unfair to compare, but people are naturally going to do that. How do the two sort of compare physically or otherwise?
Yeah, I think that, look, Darius has been playing football for Acadiana since his freshman year. That's, just kind of roll out of bed and do that. It's a really talented team. So I think between that and then kind of training with his brother, all of that, it set him up well. And look, he's still grabbing offers. So it's nobody's getting Dom but LSU right now, but Darius is being highly courted. So he's ranked kind of hovering right in there as one of the top 30 D linemen in the country, just outside the top 300. And more often than not, like there are just not a lot of 5-star, nose tackles or DTs out there every year. It's just such a premium position. So he's ranked kind of right along there with most of the rest of them, obviously. Dom finished as a 5-star, but Dom was also 6'5". I'd say Darius is a shade under 6'4", and probably 10, 15 pounds less than where Dom was at this age. But boy, I'll say this, not that it means Darius anything relative to it, but it wasn't until about this time when Don McKinley even got his offer and then blew up and became a 5-star. So I think that a guy like Darius to already be considered a 4-star and have that playing time at Acadiana and have the offers he does speaks to him being someone they would absolutely take in this class.
Couple more minutes here with Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Hey, Shea, one other thing I noticed is that the 2027 On 3 rankings were updated, and there's a new number 1 player in Louisiana. I guess it's never too early to start kind of becoming acquainted with the 2027 guys. So can you give us the updated news there?
Yeah, and we just initially had a debut top 100. So it's only really was the kids who were, when you're talking about that class 2027, when we did it more than a year ago, it was really only kids nationally who had played as freshmen. Like Elijah Haven at Dunham, for instance, was in that initial top 100 because he was already starting at Dunham. But the rankings team then gets to get that full sophomore year, and a lot of guys start to play. And one guy who just tore it up was Zyron Forstall over at Jesuit. In fact, the Catholic League got a number of kids into this update. Up top, I think 11 guys in the top 300 for On 3 are from Louisiana, which is such a high number this early on. So gives you a little hint that next year is going to be pretty good, too, in terms of what the state of Louisiana can give them. But Forstall, man, debuts as the number 2 edge rusher, and you're like, all right, wow, that's pretty good. Well, it turns out the number 1 edge rusher is also the number 1 player in the country. Forstall checks in at number 3 overall, no matter the position, no matter the state. And I was talking to Charles Power, who runs our scouting and rankings, and he said for a D-end edge rusher, it's he and this other guy at 1 that really just blew them away. And he said really nobody was kind of close out there. So buckle in. Right now, Louisiana has the number 1 D lineman in the country, so it's your interior guys and Richard Anderson out of Carr, and he's committed to LSU. And they've already got an offer out to Forstall, who you would guess they could probably try to put the clamps on and lock up. And then you've got a chance to get a 5-star edge rusher out of Louisiana next year, which isn't a spot, really. They turn out a ton. Don McKinley and Mason Smith had a run on 5-stars, but getting a 5-star edge would be unique for Louisiana.
He is Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Shea, we always appreciate the time, man. We'll do it again next week. Thank you.
Hey, yep, absolutely, Matt, and maybe more commits. We'll see.
Was that a little tease, maybe?
No, I just meant we had fun with a week away. 3 commits, now 1 more week. Who knows?
Okay, we'll see. I felt like a little foreshadowing. We'll mark the tape just in case. Thanks, Shea.
Okay, bye, Matt.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.